Peter Rose, Longwood Currency Trading. It's early September of 2021, and I wanted to sort of clarify some stuff. I'm getting some emails and some questions about folks that I talk with currency trading on, in my use of the terms about trading and learning the plumbing and the mechanics of trading. And I think I tend to sound like the plumbing and the mechanics are generic type terms for stuff, and that the two terms are relatively synonymous with each other. And that's not the case. In my mind, just in talking to people in general, when I talk about the plumbing of trading, I'm talking about how you calculate your bank size, what a trend line is, how you evaluate the pip value, the composition of currency pairs, all that sort of stuff. That's the plumbing of trading. That's all the what. What is it that you do when you trade? You do an entry, you manage the trade, and you exit. I mean, those are all what you do. That's the plumbing. The mechanics is something a little bit more different. The mechanics implies some sort of a movement or that you're doing something. See, plumbing, I mean, if you think of your plumbing in your house, that's a static thing. In physics, there's a whole course and a study of mechanics. I mean, Newtonian mechanics and quantum mechanics, for example. They explain how things move, the effect of resistance on them and stuff. So the mechanics of trading has, the implication of that is how you use the stuff, the what. You could say a trade entry, that's a what. You know, we're talking about a trade entry. Well, how do you implement that trade entry? Well, you pick your trade entry spot, and then you execute your trade. Now, you can say, well, that's pretty stupid. Well, no, it isn't stupid, because are you going to go all in with your position? Are you going to stage in? Is the how of your trade going to involve maybe staging off? Are you going to? I mean, how do you implement that trade entry process? And those are two really critical questions that you have to ask yourself as a student of trading. Is you have to have a really good grasp of the what before you even get to the how. And so when I work with somebody, whether they're kind of just getting started out, and I don't train beginners. I mean, if you're a beginner and you're a real self-starter and you want to take direction, I'm going to send you off to different resources to learn the what and the how, because I don't teach that stuff. My skills are better used for what I call process-oriented trading. And I've done a couple of videos on process-oriented trading, so you may want to go back and check out the meanings of that and how I implement that in my life and my trading. And so that's a reflection on what I would be expecting someone else who's learning this stuff ultimately to get themselves to, is that process-oriented trading. And that's the third part. You've got the what, you've got the how, and now you've got process-oriented, or processes, which is the when. When do you do this stuff? You know, the what is that there's a stop sign, or stoplight, you know, and you're waiting on the crosswalk. So the what is the stop light. The how is how you walk across the street when the stoplight goes, or how you walk across that street. That's how you execute the walk. But the when is when the stoplight turns in your favor and there's certain conditions of other traffic and oncoming pedestrians and all the other stuff. So you can see that the what is pretty straightforward and simple, and the how is just building on that what. But the process of when you execute that is a whole series of questions that you have to pre-ask yourself. And those questions that you ask yourself about when you're going to do something show you what rules you need to put into place for the how. And those rules then form the basis of the support for your when. When do you take that action? And what do you look for when that action takes place? And what do you do under this condition of when and under this condition of when? And you don't want to have more than two paths of branching in that. You got door A and you got door B for your decision. So you're always only faced in the when stage in the process of one of two choices. You don't want to have 3 or 4 choices. If you have 3 choices, you've got 15 different permutations that you could put those choices into, right? But if you have 2 choices, there's 4 permutations, and that becomes very manageable because, like in chess, although you may have hundreds and hundreds, I think there's 600 different potential responses to the first few openings of opening moves in chess. But you can eliminate 98% of those as just being stupid. If you're doing a king's pawn opening, for example, and the guy moves his, I don't know, his rook pawn out to rook 4. I mean, what are you doing? I mean, you may be tuning up for a Queen's Indian defense or something. You might move your knight pawn out, but you're not going to move a rook pawn out. That doesn't do anything. The whole point in chess is to get control of the center of the board. Why would you move a rook pawn out? Pawn out. So in chess, even though you have so many different permutations and choices to make, with experience, like anything else, you can eliminate 98% of those. And that's really the skill in chess, is eliminating all the clutter. That's why you, when you have a person who has been able to memorize 6 or 8 or 10 levels down from each opening pattern, it's really hard to beat that person because they already know what needs to happen. Because if the other guy makes a move that's not consistent with the opening pattern he's supposed to be following, he's trapped into a series of recovery movements, and those are time elements, and you can catch up. And trading is the same thing. If you time your trade entry, for example, improperly, not only will you get stopped out, but now you have all the psychological factors saying, I'm getting stopped out all the time. I must be really stupid. Or worse than that, my system doesn't work, so I got to change. I got to change my system. I got to change the how. I mean, you can really get yourself screwed up. So I think if you're looking at trading as an experienced trader, if you're just getting started in trading, it's going to be very difficult for you unless you have kind of somebody to kind of point the path out for you. But if you're an experienced trader, I hope that what you're doing in your trading is putting your trading into those 3 phases of, well, they're not really phases, but they're stages of execution, and there are also stages of thought process that you go through. Is what are the mechanics? I'm sorry. What is the plumbing? What's the plumbing? What's the foundation? Because that's your playing field. I'm going to play American football. This is the field. There's separators every 10 yards, and I got to get to each 10-yard point for a down in order to get the opportunity to go to the next set of lines. Okay, that's your playing field. That's the plumbing, the mechanics of the game. So you need to know what the mechanics are. You need to know how to implement all that stuff. Maybe one of the mechanics things that you want to use is a Bollinger Band. So you know what it is, but how do you implement it? What are the settings for the Bollinger Band that you want to have? Because those increase or decrease where the boundary level moving average lines are, and that either increases or reduces the cloud that you're trading. Same with this Ichimoku cloud stuff that you trade. Those are mechanics, but you have to understand. I mean, the plumbing. You have to understand what it is, and then you have to understand how it functions, so that you can use that tool the right way. And then, when do you apply it? When would it be appropriate to use an entry signal? I don't know. I, I mean, an indicator, and I don't think, I mean, that's my opinion. But if you are of the thought that Bollinger Bands are going to help you with your entry, then you know what the Bollinger Band is, you know how to use it, and then you know when to apply that within the conditions of your entry, if that's what you're going to use it for. Don't, but if that's what you think you want to do, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I don't really give a shit what you do. I'm just trying to explain to you a framework of thinking about trading in not only the Forex market, but everything in life. What is it? How do you apply it? And when do you do it? That's true for everything in life. Look, I've studied the martial arts for 50 years. We study philosophy. You know, learning martial arts is studying fear, right? Fear of survival, fear of being harassed or put upon. But that's seminal to our understanding of ourselves as people, understanding our fears. Everybody has fears. You have to not learn how to get rid of and eliminate your fears, because you can't do that. You need to learn how to manage them. And it's the same thing in trading. You have stuff that you have to know what it is, that it's going to be applicable. Do you need a mizzen sail to trade Forex? Well, you don't. You use a mizzen sail on a boat that's big enough to have a mizzen mast. Okay? So you need to know the field of battle. You need to know the what. What are you dealing with? What are the tools that you have to work with? And then how do you use the tool? And then when do you use the tool? So like planting a garden. Here's the garden and here's all the tools. That's the what. How do you use this shovel? Oh, I use it to, dig a hole in the ground. When are you going to use that shovel? Are you going to use it when there's 2 feet of snow on the ground? Right? Are you going to use it before you've got any seeds to plant? You see how critical the organization of this knowledge is. What are you trying? What are the things that you need to work with? What's the plumbing? How do you use those tools? That's the how. And when do you use it? 90% of traders lose 90% of their money in 90 days when they get started. So the odds are really stacked against you. And the reason for that, not to belittle other educators or anything, they're doing the best that they can. Probably a majority of them are trying to scam you, but there's a lot of really good ones out there. They just don't know how to teach. And so because they're trying to attract people of every spectrum in the trading universe to work with them, and in fact almost all of them are trying to attract a new trader because you're the most influenced. Once you get a little experience and you get hardened with this stuff, you really look critically at what people are saying. You go, nah, you're full of shit. I'm not gonna listen to you. So, but that's why I don't tend to deal with folks that don't trade or are just excited about the thought of being a trader and making $100,000 a year on a $5,000 bank. I only want to work with experienced people or people that are serious when they're going to get involved in the thing, so that they follow the training. I turn more people down for training than I would take. I don't have any students right now, for example, at this particular date and time, because of the folks that ask me, well, what am I going to have to do? You're going to have to do this? It's just that tough. It's not a magic pill. A magic pill I can sell you for a couple of $100, but not how to trade. If you're trying to learn how to trade, are you trying to learn how to trade for $500 a year? then no course would be cheap enough for you. I'm trying to teach people how, make a couple $100,000 a year. Well, you're not going to do that on a $10,000 bank, maybe even a $100,000 bank. That'd be making 4 times on your money or 3 times on your money. You can't do that. But the folks I'm talking to are serious about that. It's not a game. It's something that they're trying to either augment their income because they don't have enough income, or their income is sufficient that they can constantly filter off more money into their account, build the account in size by adding money to it as well as through their trading. So what they're trying to do is build wealth. They don't need the money for the income. They're trying to build an asset base. So, and those are questions that I ask folks that want to trade with me. Well, how come you want to trade? Well, I think it's really fucking cool. You know, I'm going to make $1 million. Oh, really? Okay, goodbye. I don't have time for that. So all of the stuff that I teach is process-based. It's leading the person up to the point where I want to be sure that I'm building the plumbing and the mechanics. Even if you're experienced, I want to make sure you understand the plumbing. I'm not going to charge you money to teach you plumbing. I'm going to give you references to stuff that I know where whatever it is that you read, even though you already know it, you'll pick out the things that are really critical to know, and you can forget about the rest of the stuff. There's only a few things that you really need to know in order to push the button to make a trade. You're going to learn the rest as you go. But if you don't learn the right what and the correct how, then you will never be able to figure out when to use it. How are you going to be successful? So, when you are looking at analyzing your trading, if you're not getting the results that you think that you should, well, first of all, I hope you're not following somebody else. You know, you dial into somebody's, you know, online Facebook group or some stupid thing. I don't know, whatever you call it. Yeah, well, I'm looking at AUDNZD today, and I think it's going to cross the 80 mark, and blah 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 blah. And you know, it's Tuesday, and so we got to look out for this. And so that's what we're looking at. We're gonna take this trade. If it gets to this level, I'm going to be long. And so you sit there, and when it gets to that level, you go long. You're not helping yourself one bit. That doesn't work because you haven't done the necessary groundwork. So if you can do that groundwork really, really well up front in an organized manner, the plumbing and the mechanics, then when it gets around time to learn the when part, you'll be able to go back through that material and filter through that, decide what we call in software engineering the nodes, or those key elements that comprise the system, and try to get binary rules or decision branches from that node. So I'm at a trade entry point, okay? And I've done all my other stuff to define that there's a potential trade here. So now the binary decision is, if part of my trading plan is the possibility for staging, I have either I'm going to use this trade and I'm going to go all in, or I'm going to stage. So you need to have rules for each one of those so that you can say, are the conditions there so that I would not want to stage, so I'm going to pick the all in. So you pick the all in, so you've made that decision. You've got a node point, and then you've got two branches that you can go in. It's binary, you pick A or B. It's one or the other, not both of them. And then when you go off on this direction, you've gone all in, and all of a sudden conditions change. The rule is, if conditions change, I can either sit there and end up sucking air, or I can exit the position. Oh, I'll exit the position. So you see how you can build a when branch of choices based on solid how mechanics. Peter Rose, Longwood Currency Trading. Have a great day, and have a great trading day.